Hi, I'm Spalik-Mucci, and I'm a freshman at Windsor High School in New York State. My invention is this ginormous telescope right here, which I've named a Dual Optic Refracting Telescope. And what makes mine so unique and so different than others is down here we have two eyepieces on the telescope that allows two people to view it at the same time with no changing of eyepieces, no adjusting to your own eyesight, the focus of it. It's just two people viewing the same object, same exact time. What really sparked my idea for this is when I was a kid, my mom got me a telescope, and when she was teaching me how to use it and all, she would take most of the time to look through it, focus it to her eyesight, and she would just admire it and take a ton of time. But also, the winter is also the best viewing time. So I would be out there for 5 to 10 minutes in the dead of winter in New York State, which is really bad. Dead of winter and freezing, and she would take 5 to 10 minutes, and then when I got to look, odds are it could just be out of the view because of the rotation of the Earth, and I couldn't get to see anything, and I just wasted 10 minutes freezing in the dead of winter. Well, let's get into the design and the inner workings of the telescope. Telescope is made out of one 5-foot long, 6-inch diameter piece of PVC pipe with nothing but no holes in it, but down here where the eyepieces are added, there are 2 holes drilled in and 2 other pieces of PVC sealed off with a pool putty. Down here we have the objective lens with a 3,330 millimeter focal point. And now as we're moving down the telescope, we get to the tripod right here. The tripod came from a different telescope that I had in my house, and I mounted it on with this homemade mount made out of nothing but 2 pieces of door framing, a rectangular piece of wood, and this screw bolt right here used to adjust the angle that the telescope can go up at. Then, as we move down even further, we get to this red dot sight I have that you can get at any optic store, literally anywhere where you can get an optic, you can get this. Then we get to the thing that makes my telescope so unique and so incredible and unique and all that fun stuff, is the 2 eyepieces. 2 eyepieces are achieved using these 2 prisms on the interior of the telescope, mounted up on nothing but this piece on a piece of epoxy resin that is made into a semicircle, and just the 2 things mounted right up on it and angled pretty much how you see it here. You can also see basically how the telescope works through this diagram here, where the light comes in and is reflected off into the 2 eyepieces. I was also able to build my own eyepieces for the telescope, such as right here. The eyepieces consist of 2 magnifying lenses, a concave one on this part of it and a convex one on the interior part of the telescope that is permanently attached. Concave one is attached to just these eyepieces and can slide in and out to adjust your own focus. Not only was I able to make 2 different magnifications for them, but I was also able to make them for 2 different eyesights. One for my mom, which she made, and one for me, which I made, to show how your eyesight can also play a big role in how things focus. And if you would like, you can also come over here and see the image that I have up on the wall of the telescope, viewing through the telescope. And here you can get a view of both of the eyepieces that I have mounted on my telescope. I was also able to perform a few tests to show a few things with my telescope, such as the offset of the 2 eyepieces and the distortion in the lens. The one for distortion is called the Ronchi test. The Ronchi test is very simple. You simply have a sheet of black and white stripes mounted on a wall and the telescope pointing at it, and then you take pictures and you'll be able to see in the pictures or even just viewing through it little waves in this picture, and that will show you how much your telescope is distorting whatever image you are viewing. And you can see right here, I have very little distortion in my telescope. The other test for the difference between the two eyepieces is called the Hartman test. The Hartman test uses this thing called a Hartman grating that is placed on the interior of the telescope with no lenses on it. And what that does is that allows you to shine light through it and view exactly where light is coming through on your telescope. As you can see here, my left lens is pretty much spot on with the viewing, but my right lens is pretty much the same except up to the upper right just slightly more. Then we get down here to my pictures of actual things in the sky. I was luckily able to get pictures of the moon, the sun, but not Jupiter, because Jupiter is such a dim light, and with no tracking device on this, the image would come out very blurry because I cannot get a long enough exposure following the planet, and it would just come out as a blur line across the screen. That wouldn't look very good on this. Also, actually, I would like to add, you can actually see the Hartman example in here, how each of the pictures of the left lens is pretty much how you see them, but then up here you see these pictures to the upper right just slightly more. Well, I hope you enjoyed my telescope, and I really hope to see you in New York.